Welcome to Leadership in the Line of Fire with your host, Brad Hauck. Join Brad as he dives into the heat of leadership challenges, where the flames of business uncertainty meet the hard-earned lessons of firefighting. Embrace change, master agility, and become the trusted leader guiding your team through the smoke. Get ready to ignite your leadership journey.
Welcome to the podcast. Let me ask you, what are you missing right now? Most leadership problems don't arrive with flashing lights and warning sirens. They begin with small changes. The room goes quiet, updates become suspiciously specific, reliable people keep quiet, and the team stops making simple decisions without you. Good leaders don't wait for failure to confirm that something is wrong. They notice the weak signals early and they act before a small change becomes a serious problem. In this episode, we're going to look at the 7 signals that are easy to dismiss but costly to ignore. By the way, if these leadership lessons are making you think differently, you'll find much more in my book, Run Towards the Flames. It's packed with real fireground stories, hard-earned leadership lessons, and practical strategies you can use when the pressure is on. Grab your copy at Amazon.com and take the next step to becoming the leader your team can rely on. Number 1, silence after a decision. I was once on a strike team to a country area. We'd been out there for a couple of days and we'd been working hard at this fire, and we kept running into problems with communication with our strike team leader. And this continued over and over. We talked to them, we asked them questions, we kept telling them that we were having issues with the way that they were running the strike team, meaning that one part of the strike team was broken away from the other part of the strike team. We were on different channels on the radios, which meant that when we were discussing things, we couldn't talk to each other, but then we'd end up working as one team. So the truck in front might be on a different channel to us, which meant that if we needed to overtake or we needed to ask them a question, we couldn't because we weren't on that channel. And while it sounds like a simple thing and you're following instructions, you can't just switch to the other channel. It's not that simple because you'll miss calls on your own channel. So it became a major issue. And it became such a problem that in the end, the strike team actually decided to break away and do their own thing. And we actually ignored the instructions from the strike team leader and set up our own comms plan quietly behind their back. That's not ideal. It's not good. It was the safest thing to do at the time, but it was really troublesome for us. And we didn't want to have to do it, but that person wouldn't listen. So problems can grow quickly, and often the silence is an indication that something's happening. One thing I discovered is the more annoyed I am, the less I say or ask. I found that when I get really annoyed, I actually go really quiet. Now that might be just me, could be you as well. But if I'm going quiet, it normally means either I'm thinking about something or I just don't want to say anything because I can't be bothered. I've tried saying stuff, no one listens, I'm now annoyed and I'm not going to do it anymore. And the same goes for everybody. All the people in your team are the same. They're going to try to talk to you, but if you don't listen, if you don't take the time to take feedback or take questions, then they're not going to bother. If people don't ask questions, it's not because you've covered everything. It's because, quite possibly, they don't want to ask any questions. They just want to get away from you and get on with what they were doing. No matter how good your briefing is, there's always a question. If people don't ask questions, it's often not because you covered everything. It's because they're scared to ask a question or they don't trust you. What they'll do is they'll go and ask someone else once you leave, or they'll get confirmation from one of the other team members standing beside them. So don't be surprised if that happens. That's a signal that your team does not trust you and they don't know whether to actually tell you that or whether to just get on with the work. Sometimes it's safer, I must say, as someone of a lower rank, to be quiet, stay quiet, and get some information elsewhere because it's better than annoying the boss, as they say. When you're looking at your team and you're giving a briefing, watch their faces. Now, I know this can be difficult sometimes because looking in people's eyes is not always a lot of fun, but look for the signs of confusion. You're going to see them there. And it's often really written on their faces that they're not understanding. You can see them look at each other or they look around or you just see that blank stare. If you see that stare, just stop and ask them, Steve, did you get that? If they don't get it, then they can speak up at that moment. And it gives them the opportunity to say, actually, no, not that bit. Because they don't want to seem like they're dumb for the whole of the briefing. But if you can catch them on that one spot, you can do it. So silence is a real indicator that your team is going through some issues with you as a leader or with the situation they're in. Number 2, problems arrive on your desk polished. When every update sounds polished and positive, someone may be hiding risks and issues before it gets to you. Nothing ever runs perfectly smooth. So always ask what didn't go well. You can have the best report in the world, but there will definitely be issues no matter how well a situation's run. I've been to fires where everything ran smoothly on the surface, but there was problems. They weren't big problems, they were dealt with, but you need to know that. When you just get silence, everything's good, it's a sign that people have had enough, they're fatigued, they want to get out of there, they don't want to talk about it any longer, they just want to go home often. So every situation, there will always be learnings. If your team's silent, then that's a bad sign. And if the reports you get are very stilted and broken, then that's also a sign that something's going on. You'll often see in written reports, there is lots of information listed, but no specifics. And the specifics are what you're after. We did this, and then this happened, and then that happened. You're looking for more detail about what actually went on. So when you get lots of information, but no specific information, it's kept very generalized, then people are trying to probably cover their backsides a bit. They don't want you to question it. They don't want someone to see that there was issues. They want to appear like everything is good. Make sure you cross-check the information that you get. If someone's giving you data and it's saying that we had this many sales, for example, then go and check the books and see if there was that many sales. You need to make sure that the information you're getting is clear and accurate. Otherwise, you can't make good decisions. Don't take everyone's word for it. Yes, trust your leaders, but ask them the hard questions. We've all been there. We've all been middle management, if you like to look at it that way, where the pressure's on you to deliver. And you don't want to tell the boss that things aren't going as well. So you say, yes, sales are going well. Yeah, how well? Are we making lots of sales, like 100 a day, or are we making lots of sales, like 5 a day? There's a huge difference between the two results. So cross-check the information and make sure that when you get those polished reports, that they're really good. Another thing that's really powerful from your perspective is ask to see someone's work. I've worked with designers because I'm in marketing for many years. And often you'll get the report saying, oh yes, we're well underway with that. And oh, we're just doing this bit. And then you walk in and you ask them to show you what they've done. In other words, open up their computer, pull up the file and show me the work. And all of a sudden things come apart. They're nowhere near as far as they should be, or they say they are. And look, it might be only an hour's work. But if they're saying they're at this point, and in fact they're at that point, then you need to talk to your people, okay? There's obviously some sort of problem there. They might be overworked, they might be caught up on another project, but what you're looking for is honesty, because you have to change your decisions, you have to change your plans moving forward. And if you don't see the signals like this, then what's going to happen is you're going to get to the end of the time when a project's supposed to be delivered and you're going to basically have nothing to deliver because people have been lying to you. Next, your reliable people become less reliable. You get a sudden drop in performance and it often signals overload, frustration, or lost confidence rather than laziness. Laziness is not always the issue. In fact, more often than not, laziness is not the issue. It's actually stress and exhaustion that's the problem. Look for the signs of fatigue in your team. It's a killer, okay? Whether it's a killer as in they're exhausted and they've got to drive home 2 hours every day and they could have an accident, or it's a killer as in they don't want to come to work anymore and you lose that person from your team. It doesn't matter whether they're volunteering or they're being paid. If people are really fatigued, they're going to come to the point where they leave. Now, it might be that It's because they're fatigued with the systems that are in place or the problems that you're pushing onto them. Whatever it is, you should be listening because you're going to lose your good people. I saw a recent example of this, and it's going to cost a company one of their best people. It's not that person's fault. The company just doesn't listen and they don't care. So be it. But it is dangerous. If you start pushing all your people out, you're not going to have anyone in your team. Talk to people privately or get someone that they trust to talk to them and come back and talk to you. You can't always talk to people directly because you don't have a direct line to them, or they just don't have a good relationship with you, but they will have a relationship with someone else on the team. Get them to go and ask them what's wrong. It won't necessarily be anything you're doing. Okay. You might be doing everything right. They might just have a problem with it, or they might have problems at home or some other issue going on. Their own health might be failing. Find out what it is and try and work around it or with it or give them a break, whatever it is, what they need. Don't lose team members because you don't notice what it is and put it down to laziness. Next, humor disappears. When a team stops joking, the energy and psychological safety may already be failing. In my book, I tell a story. We'd been on the fire ground, it was deployment. It had been a really hard day, very high winds, very dry, and working against a fire that was coming directly towards us at a pretty good speed. Everything had been fine till around lunchtime when the wind changed direction and started pushing the fire down on us. But with that came the smoke. The smoke was so thick that you couldn't see 5 meters in front of you. And we were stuck in it for over 6 hours. Problem was our replacement crews were supposed to come at 5 o'clock. It was now 6:45 and we were still stuck on the fire ground. And the word had reached us that the crews weren't coming because they hadn't had enough rest. And of course, while that sounds fair, it's not fair when everybody else has been there over 12 hours already. So we were exhausted and everybody was angry and everybody was starting to get really itchy feet to the point where it was like, we are going to actually leave the fire ground and this fire is going to be on its own because fatigue-wise, we can't do any more. We've had enough. And then suddenly there was a little ping on someone's phone and a bit of laughter. And then it started pinging on everybody's phone. We're like, okay, what's going on here? So we picked up our phones, we had a look, and there was this photo. And the photo was of a rock, and the rock looked like someone's backside. Now, it doesn't sound extremely funny, but when you're exhausted and you've had enough, it was enough to tickle the fancy of a lot of very tired firefighters. And it became a real thing. Everybody wanted to go and find this rock and get their photo taken with it when we were off the fire ground the next day. And it broke the pain of the situation. Point is that the humor had fallen out of us. Firefighters are pretty good at staying cool and having a bit of a laugh, even in the darkest moments. But when you get to the point where you can't even make each other laugh, things are pretty bad. That was just enough to break the stress, and luckily our crews were replaced within the next half hour. But even that last half hour was really hard just to hold it together. You'll often get to a point where nothing will make you laugh. And the same goes for members of your team. When you notice the laughter's gone out of the room, there's no giggles, there's no smiles, there's no nothing, just that look of exhaustion, you've got a problem. So keep your eyes open for it. Maybe people need a day off. Maybe you need to go and do something different together. Whatever it is, things are going to get real bad real quick if people are not able to laugh anymore. Every movement people make looks like hard work. You get to that exhausted time where even getting out of chair, you're like, ugh, as you stand up. And it's no one wants to move. We've hit that point where you want to go on the ground and lie there and not move. So humor goes first, and then eventually the body starts to go and everything comes apart. So watch out for that as a signal. Small rules get quietly ignored. This is a major one, I think. Minor shortcuts that reveal that people are dropping their standards, their trust, or their respect for the leadership, and that starts to weaken your ability to lead the team. It's not often big things that break down first. It's the little things, okay? And these can lead to safety being compromised. They can be simple things as not shutting the door when you come through when it needs to be shut for safety, not tidying up desks, just letting them be messy all the time, not pushing chairs in when they get up to move so other people have got to work their way around them. They're very simple rules that people follow from an etiquette perspective, but there may be more complex ones, such as on a fire truck, not resetting the truck properly, not making sure that the water tank's full, all sorts of things like that. They add up and can eventually lead to real issues in the team. You don't want these little things to add up to big issues because they will build upon each other. And if you don't deal with them, it becomes a problem. The other issue that I see more than anything is people develop poor habits and then they are hard to break. So for example, on a fire truck, we need to make sure the water tank's full. If we each week don't bother to check the tank and the tank's always half full and we get a fire call, we've only got half a tank of water. That can make a big difference on a fire ground because we've got to leave to go and get water. That's a safety issue. It's also pain when you're out there, and it's hard to break those habits. If people just don't bother, then getting them to check the tank every week becomes something you've then got to almost physically say, go and check the tank. So you don't want things to get to that stage. And they do from time to time, okay? Depending on the situation, depending on how busy you've been, all those sorts of things. Little things slip. Make sure you're picking up those little things. Number 6, people ask permission for routine decisions. They have a growing dependence, which suggests their confidence is shrinking, or people are afraid of being blamed. And I've seen this one a lot. I always try to empower people to make decisions for themselves. I really don't want to have to make decisions that I know they're fully capable of making. But if they can't, then you need to guide them. Encourage them, okay, to make those decisions because they're capable of it. Most people are capable of really good decisions. They just need the confidence to back themselves. And that confidence will only come from you because you're the person that they're looking up to. As I always said, okay, in this podcast, if you're making all the decisions, you need to look at your team and your span of control. You shouldn't be making all the decisions. You need a team of leaders who work with you to help implement things and to report back to you. If you're doing all the work, then number one, your business, your crew, everything is going to come apart if you're not there. That's the first major problem. The second major problem is you carry the weight of everything on you. And when you do that, the stress will take you out. You won't be able to stay a leader too long because you get too stressed. There's nothing more annoying than having a team that won't make decisions. Sometimes it's not easy to get them to make decisions, but you just got to keep encouraging them. They're capable. You know they are. That's why they're part of your team. That's why you like working with them. But get them to the stage where they believe in themselves enough to make the decisions without you needing to say anything. In fact, they come to you and say, we've done this, it's causing this, and we're seeing this, and this is all happening. And you go, great, that's exactly what we need. They're making smart decisions on their own. Number 7, the unofficial leaders stop contributing. When the people that others naturally follow withdraw, your team may be getting closer to losing them than you realize. Within any group, there is leaders who sit in the lower levels of an organization, whether it be firefighters, business, whatever. They don't want to move up and take on rank. That's just not what they want for their lives. But they have the ability to do that. And as such, because they're natural leaders, people will look to them for guidance. People come and go. People do come and go within an organization, but you need to be able to talk to your non-ranked leaders. They see everything that's going on because they sit down amongst the larger population of your organization. They've got eyes. They hear every conversation that you won't see because you're off doing leader things. It's well worth spending time with those people. I love crewing with those guys. They're the best. They're such good firefighters in my case. And because they're such good firefighters, you can just trust them. You can give them a job and they can go, just like you will give any other leader. Just because they don't have something on their shoulders doesn't mean they're not leaders. So make sure that you're talking to them. Look to them to find the source of issues that you can't solve yourself. They will know. They will understand what's going on. So look to them for signals that you've got issues. You need those people more than they need you. So you need to respect them highly. There is a reason that they've chosen not to take on rank, and that's their own personal reason. But it doesn't change who they are or what they can do for the organization and how they can help you run your team. Leadership problems rarely begin with one dramatic failure. They build quietly through questions that nobody asks, the risks hidden inside polished reports, and the reliable person who starts slipping, and the small standards people stop respecting. Great leaders notice these changes before they become obvious to everyone else. They watch faces, they listen to what's being said, and they check in before judging things. The real warning isn't always noise or conflict. Sometimes it's a team becoming unusually quiet, careful, or disconnected. Great leadership isn't only about responding well when something goes wrong. It's about seeing trouble early enough to prevent it getting bad. Thanks for listening to Leadership in the Line of Fire. Until next time, stay alert, lead with courage, and run towards the flames.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership in the Line of Fire. If today's episode sparked some insights, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support fuels this journey. Join us next time as we continue to explore leadership lessons from the fire line. Until then, keep leading with courage and agility.